Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
Hello. Whether you're new to the show or an old friend, I'm so glad you can join us. Mission Evolution is the place to find the latest knowledge from today's leading experts. This hour, we'll consider an alternative approach to depression. Major depression is the most common mental disorder in the U.S. and has the strongest risk of suicide. Previous findings show an increase in depression in the U.S. population from 6.6% in 2005 to 7.3% in 2015. Results from a study showed that in the first year of the pandemic, April 2020 through April 2021, the prevalence of people with depression or anxiety symptoms in America increased substantially from about 11% of people in 2019 to close to 40%. Given these startling facts, it may be time to take a deeper look into depression and alternative approaches to treatment. With us this hour to delve into the topic of depression is author of What If It's Not Depression? Your Guide to Finding an Answer and Solutions, Dr. Achina Stein. Dr. Stein is an osteopathic physician who graduated from Rowan University School of Osteopathic Medicine in 1990 and has been in practice as a board-certified psychiatrist for over 25 years. Her osteopathic roots, apart from the conventional psychology because of her use of osteopathic philosophy and biopsychosocial treatment approach. Dr. Stein is a distinguished fellow of the American Psychiatric Association, a fellow of the American College of Neuropsychiatry, and was awarded the Exemplary Psychiatrist Award in 2008. Her website, fxnmind.com. Dr. Stein, thanks for joining us on Mission Evolution.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's good. It's a real joy. This is such an important topic right now. So, you're a functional medicine psychiatrist. Could you please explain what that is and how it differs from regular psychiatry?
Well, conventional or traditional psychiatry is what most people understand. So psychiatrists are physicians that tend to prescribe medications. It is the primary way of resolving mental health issues. Many psychiatrists are also trained in psychotherapy. So psychotherapy is typically nowadays given by licensed clinical social workers and clinical psychologists, but there are psychiatrists who are also trained. It used to be something that every psychiatrist was trained in doing is psychotherapy, but nowadays it is managed by other people than psychiatrists. So we have been sort of put into a certain narrow role nowadays in terms of managing big places, but also just prescribing medications. Mm-hmm. So a functional medicine psychiatrist is somebody who has been trained, and I worked as a traditional psychiatrist for a number of years up until 2012. And we can talk about why that is, until I became and got trained into functional medicine. And that is getting to the root cause of the problem. It's finding out what the drivers are that is causing the mental health issues in a person's body, that it starts in other places in the body and affects the brain, because believe it or not, our brain is connected to our body. And there are things that can happen in our body that can affect our brain. And so, traditionally we would look at the biology on some level, but not to the extent that I do as a functional medicine practitioner. We look at the psychology and how our social environment affects our moods. But it is also there's physiology that can affect our moods as well. And there's multiple variables. And, I don't know if you want me to go into those variables now, but that's basically what functional medicine is, getting to the bottom of what's causing the mood changes, as opposed to just suppressing symptoms with medications.
So, isn't it a case of which came first, the chicken or the egg? Because doesn't the mood or depression affect the brain chemistry as well as the body's condition affecting the brain chemistry?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, it definitely is a loop that needs to be cut. So these loops sometimes can occur where, where does it start? It kind of doesn't really matter where it starts. I think if you can stop those loops at some point, things can go back to normal. So it's different for every person. Everybody has a different history. I look at people as, a thousand pieces of a puzzle, and finding all of those pieces really makes a difference in trying to understand what happened in a person's life, where multiple situations come together that causes their body to sort of flip on its side. And it's a matter of, in order to write that up, you kind of have to find all of the drivers that created the situation.
So it's when people are on medication, particularly psychiatric medication, isn't it kind of like a moving target? Doesn't it have to be adjusted all the time? And then once you get into that loop, then how complicated is it to back your way out if you find there are physiological aspects going on? Now you've got a real mixed bag, don't you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's certainly, there is certainly a place for medication. Some people think that if we practice an alternative way of doing things, that we're anti-medication. There is certainly a place for medication. It does save lives, but I look at it as a way to sort of help someone get back on their feet, to keep them in a safer place, being able to function on some level, so that you're not in danger anymore. So there's certainly a place for medication, but taking these medications on a long-term basis can certainly cause side effects over time, and it makes it harder to come off of these medications, because some people, depending on their genetic background, have some difficulty tolerating the reductions. And then there can be confusion as to, well, when I'm reducing it, isn't my symptoms coming back versus are these side effects? And so there's a way to know that. And I do help people come off medications if they're in the right place in their life, in terms of their mental health. But and it certainly is a conversation that needs to happen. There are some people who should probably never stop their medications. It depends on the situation. And so please don't. I just want your audience to know: don't stop your medications. Certainly work with someone, to evaluate you and determine whether or not it's the right thing for you. But there is a certain process that many doctors don't really know, because they're not really trained in the traditional world to understand that some people don't need medications long term. We were trained early on that, like, once you're on medication, oh, there's been a life change, and that's never going to change back, and that you can't change it back, and that they have to be on medications for the rest of their lives. That is not the case. That's not true for
That's the
everyone.
good news,
Yeah,
right?
that's the good news.
That's the
And
good news.
so that's
So
where the functional medicine piece comes in. And so if you can find all the drivers of inflammation that's causing inflammation in your brain, resulting in you needing medications, then you can reduce the inflammation in your body and be able to then eventually taper and discontinue some or even all of these medications. And so
Well,
I think it's important to keep that.
inflammation is a topic, a hugely important topic that I would really love to delve into in the second segment here. But from what I'm hearing, if I can kind of try to nutshell it here, that the prior view was that the medication is the fix, and you fixed it, but you stay on medication for the rest of your life. And unless I'm mistaken, I'm hearing you say that medication can be used to get a person into a stable enough position to then deal with diet, to then deal with therapy, to then deal with lifestyle changes. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely, absolutely. But it's more than just diet and lifestyle changes. It's also doing certain amount of testing to determine what is going on in the gut, and that's where I'm the psychiatrist that treats the gut, because the gut is the highway of inflammation. That's where inflammation occurs, and it can affect so many systems. So if you can figure out what's going on in the gut, then and resolve those issues, then that's because 80% of your immune system's in your gut. 80% of your neurotransmitters are made in your gut. And so if you can stabilize that, then so many things calm down. And it's not just the depression and anxiety going away or getting better, but people find that their blood pressure gets better, their headaches get better, their brain fog goes away, their allergies get better, their cholesterol gets better. Like so many things get better because that's where it all starts. It starts in the gut.
It all
So
starts in the gut.
yeah.
Okay, well, it is that magic moment that we need to go into the brain, into the brain, into the break. Whoa, I'm on. That was a good one. We will return very shortly, so don't go away. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. Hello again. This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. With us this hour discussing hidden causes of depression is Dr. Achina Stein. Her website, fxnmind.com. Dr. Stein, we were just starting to get into some really interesting things that I think is underlying so much that's hidden from us right now. And that was the gut and inflammation as it impacts the entire body. Do you feel that our current American, say for instance, or even Canadian, diets are impacting us in a way that is compromising the gut more than in times past?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. The standard American diet is a very sad diet, SAD, very sad diet because it is full of processed foods, artificial flavors, artificial ingredients, and full of carbohydrates that are quite inflammatory to the system. The top seven food sensitivities are dairy, gluten, which is in wheat, barley, and rye. And gluten is in most of our products, processed products, and bread primarily. But there is gluten in so many products you would be surprised, including salad dressing and ketchup and mayonnaise. So well, maybe not mayonnaise, but salad dressing, ketchup, and there's so many products. Anyway, and people don't really eat enough vegetables. And so vegetables is where a wide variety, rainbow variety of vegetables is where we get most of our nutrients, many of our nutrients, vitamins and minerals, phytonutrients, antioxidants, particularly berries. And so it is really important to have lots of vegetables. At least half your plate should be, many vegetables, 4 to 5, we, depending on certain conditions, even 8 vegetables a day, different vegetables a day, and not enough healthy fats and protein. People don't eat enough protein. So, it's really, really important to have a balanced diet. There's lots of studies that show that the Mediterranean diet is a very healthy diet, but that's not the only diet around. And, everybody should have an evaluation to determine what's right for their body type and their conditions.
I'm
And so,
glad you mentioned that because that was going to be one of my next questions is we're all from different backgrounds.
right,
So I have quite a bit of Native American in my background, and I find that going totally vegan is not a good option for me.
right.
Okay. But other people are fine that way, that with more European background, they do great, you know that. So what
Sorry.
kind of tests do you do to figure that out?
Well, I don't think you need testing. It's a matter of really making those changes. It's not everybody has food sensitivities, but if you have certain conditions, there is this thing called what we call increased gut permeability. It's also known as leaky gut.
Mhm.
So most people who are inflamed already have that. And just by removing the top, at least the top three categories of foods and seeing how you respond actually causes a gut reset, so to speak. Just it sort of just takes a burden off your gut in terms of processing all of these foods, gives it a rest. But just taking those three things, which is gluten, dairy, and sugar, out of your diet, and this is again not for everybody. Certainly, if you have certain conditions like anorexia or an eating disorder, you don't want to do that. So it's always good to work with someone to know if that's the right thing for you. But just if you have a diet that's really heavy in carbs, and not eating the vegetables and the protein and the healthy fats, you can start adding foods in first before you take away some of these other foods. Just slowly swapping out carbs for protein and healthy fats and all those vegetables, and make it a slower process. But most people respond pretty quickly to that in a very good way. Within weeks, really, within 3 weeks, you can notice a big difference. And
Well,
then,
we see a lot of people that are really in dire straits right now. I mean, young
Mhm,
people that have
mhm.
heart problems and brain fog and arthritis and all those inflammatory sort of things. Would they see a difference? Could they turn this around, regardless of the condition that they're in?
Sure, sure. I mean, yes, some people respond very quickly, and others, they don't necessarily respond as quickly or as strikingly. And what that tells me is that we have to look for other drivers. So generally, chronic conditions are caused by multiple issues that come together that causes a manifestation of disorder or disease. So it's important, so that if someone responds very quickly, that tells me that their detox pathways are pretty clear, that their gut is probably absorbing and assimilating nutrients, because just by changing the food, it's being taken in. It tells me, it'll also tell me how you respond in a negative way, what might be going on as well. So let's say if you eat a lot of vegetables and you have a reaction like a skin flare or, gas and bloating, that tells me that you might have digestive issues that need to be addressed, or that you have a problem in terms of your liver being congested or your gallbladder not functioning efficiently. So it gives us information with each step, but we also look at other things, whether or not you have chronic infections, whether or not you have stress, toxin exposure, so or hormonal issue. So there are lots of other drivers. It's just that food is the easiest thing to fix, and you can get really quick results. If you don't, then it's a matter of looking at other places. So I wouldn't lose.
Turning into the detective, so to speak. Yeah.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
what all does inflammation? So inflammation, from what I'm hearing you say, oftentimes starts in the gut, but then impacts the entire body. What all signs do we have of that kind of inflammation?
So it comes out in symptoms. So when your body is functioning efficiently, you're well. You don't have any symptoms. And some people have symptoms and they don't even realize that they're symptoms. So to tell you a little bit about why I even went into functional medicine, my son had a significant acute depressive episode with suicidal ideations at the age of 14, and
Oh,
was ready to jump off a fifth floor to kill himself.
oh,
Um,
I'm so sorry.
yeah,
That's so traumatic.
I know it was a really scary time, because here I am, his mom, and I'm a psychiatrist, right? So think about, like, why didn't I see this? How come? I mean, this came out of the blue. This was not something that we were working with, and like he was in treatment or anything. This came out of the blue, And, when this happened, I had him seen by a psychiatrist. I put him in psychotherapy, and he was ultimately put on 4 medications, which literally helped. It did help to save his life. I mean, he was no longer suicidal, and he was feeling better, but he was not able to function. And the thing that really made me think that there's something else going on in the body than depression, which he certainly was at risk for from our family history, because on my side and my husband's side, both of us have depression and anxiety. And so, I could have said, oh, well, this is it. This is our family history coming to fruition. Oh, too bad. I could have taken that route, but I didn't, because he had a symptom that didn't make any sense to me, and that was double vision. He was, we didn't know it was double vision at the time, but it manifested as, I can't read anymore. And this is a kid who read books religiously. He had a photographic memory. He remembered, he listened to songs and, read things, and he knew it, like he could repeat it easily. And he was not able to do that anymore. So I started to think there's got to be something neurological going on. And I didn't get anywhere when I was doing my research, having him see doctors. And I serendipitously came upon functional medicine and learned that maybe this is the route I should take with him. And so I did, and I had him see a doctor, Dr. Levitan, who practices at 5 Journeys in Massachusetts. It used to be at a practice called Visions Healthcare. But anyway, I had him seen, and within a month, he had significant improvement, and all we did was a dietary change. And it wasn't necessarily with his mental health, but what got better was his eczema that he had from infancy, and the constipation, the chronic constipation that he had as a 1-year-old, since being a 1-year-old, went away within a month. And this is the type of eczema that was causing bleeding knuckles, and the type of constipation where his pediatrician said to give him, daily laxatives, which I never did. And it was just like, okay, this is what he's going to be living with. We're not going to be able to do anything. That's just who he is. Well, those 2 things resolved immediately, and his mood got better. His brain fog got better. And so he was all on board at the age of 14 to go, because it's really hard to get teenagers to change their diet, right?
For sure.
100% on board. He did everything that Dr. Levitan told him to do. We found that he had celiac disease. He had a dairy sensitivity and soy sensitivity. We removed those. And because of celiacs, what you don't really absorb your nutrients very well, because it's so much inflammation from that. It's an autoimmune disease, that he, was completely malnourished. He was nutritionally deficient, but he also didn't eat any foods that weren't white. He only ate white food.
We're gonna have to pick up on this on the other side of a station break, but it's a fascinating story, and I think we all want to hear more. Dr.
Okay.
Stein and I will be right back to continue this very important discussion. So you stay right there. This is Mission Evolution. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Hi there. This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. With us this hour is Dr. Achina Stein. Her website, fxnmind.com. Dr. Stein, we were discussing your son's amazing journey out of suicidal depression, and finding that actually what was going on had a lot to do with food intolerance and gut issues. How did it move from there back into his depression?
So it was because we removed the drivers of inflammation. We removed what was caused, the foods that were causing inflammation. Ultimately, we removed some chronic infections that he had, some gut infections that he had. We got the constipation resolved, which was when you're constipated, you're actually holding on to a lot of waste, which can be inflammatory. So anybody with constipation is going to have inflammation. It's your body wants to put out the trash, right? And if you're not able to do that efficiently and effectively, that's going to ultimately affect your whole body. So changing his diet, feeding him, replacing what the body needs, providing those nutrients that it needs, then we, and getting rid of those infections, we re-inoculated the gut microbiome, and then we repaired the gut lining. All of that brings down inflammation and resolves the depression. So within a year of doing all of this, he was significantly better and was ultimately able to come off of 2 of the 4 medications that he was on. It took another year to get, probably 6 months to another year to get the completely stopping all the medications, and was able to have an improvement. By this time, we knew it was diplopia, and with the reducing inflammation, the diplopia got better as well. Again,
I'm sorry, what is diplopia?
I'm sorry, diplopia is double vision. So
okay.
diplopia, yeah, I'm sorry, diplopia is double vision, and so what causes that is your eyes are moved by 3 cranial nerves of the eyes, and that's what got inflamed. And so when the inflammation of those nerves calm down, then the double vision goes away. So that took the longest to go away, because nerves are really the nervous system is very sensitive. And so eventually that went away as well. So, but just by doing those 5 things, removing what's causing inflammation, replacing what's been missing, re-inoculating the gut microbiome with probiotics, and repairing the gut lining, and then figuring out what went wrong so that you can rebalance the system.
That's amazing. That's just amazing. So, when you were talking about inflammation of the nerves, is that also what we're looking at in Parkinson's and MS and those sort of disorders?
Absolutely. Yep.
And so that can be treated this way as well?
Absolutely. Yep. If you catch it early enough, you absolutely can reverse what's going on. There's going to be a point, if you wait too long, that there's going to be some irreversible damage. So it really depends, when it how severe it is, how long you've been suffering. But you can sometimes actually like have it plateau and not get worse, or slow the progression just by addressing what's causing inflammation. So
Amazing.
yeah, MS is, there's different types of variants of MS. Some are more aggressive than others. And Dr. Terry Walls is a huge warrior, and I strongly recommend people who have MS to look her up, WAHL. She has her Walls protocol, and she's has all these people that she calls warriors in fighting MS, and she's been very successful in resolving her own MS and helping others. She's a brilliant, brilliant doctor.
Fantastic. It just goes to show our path is our service sometimes, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And that's the
Absolutely.
story with your son as well. How's he doing now?
He's doing really wonderful. I mean, so when this happened, it was at the age of 14, and people say, well, why did it happen at 14? And the reason sometimes people can suffer with symptoms for a long time is because some things have to come together. 3, 4, 5 things have to come together where your body says, I've had enough.
I'm done.
Yeah, exactly. And so puberty is one of those times where your body is remodeling, and it's making these huge changes that, if it's already inflamed, change causes some kind of inflammation. And so your body just goes tilt. And during times of puberty, times of pregnancy, menopause, so these life changes in your body, can absolutely cause this to occur. And
But
so,
am I understanding you to, sorry to interrupt, but am I understanding you to say that these changes in your body can be the thing that tips it over, but
correct.
you don't have to tip over if you're taking care of business while you go through these changes?
Absolutely, absolutely. If you catch, so there's a way to know. What I do have people do, and your listeners can look this up. Just type in Google MSQ, or multiple symptom questionnaire, and you can figure out what your level of toxicity is. I have my patients complete this form before they even meet with me, when I talk to them, and get a level of how much toxicity is in your system.
So how does toxicity relate to inflammation then?
that's what causes inflammation. So you can look at your level of inflammation by doing this form and getting a score. And so, if depending on how high the score is, that's how much you have to sort of contend with. But it's all of those symptoms that can cause inflammation, or it's an expression or manifestation of inflammation. So it's looking for all of those symptoms, and when you start treatment by changing your diet, by changing how, making sure that you're getting good sleep, because your body heals during a period of time when you're sleeping. So sleep is really, really important. You have to move your bodies, because movement is really important in terms of lymphatic drainage. Your lymph system doesn't move on its own. You need your muscles to be able to drain your lymphatic system, which if you don't, your body stays inflamed. So you want to move all the toxins out. You want to make sure all of your organs are working efficiently. And so we're looking at things on a cellular level, to be able to drive the inflammation down, and all the things that are causing that inflammation in the form of toxins out.
So, are toxins, can you be becoming toxic even though you seem to be having a fairly decent diet if you're eating things that you're unwittingly sensitive to? And like we said, wheat, dairy, and
Mhm.
sugar.
Mhm.
Um, and sometimes, I mean, you can be eating a really not decent diet, but it has dairy or wheat in it. And is that then that causes toxicity unwittingly?
Yes, I mean, it's hard for people to know unless they do some testing. But the really, I stopped doing testing for food sensitivities because most people are already pretty inflamed, and that they most likely have increased gut permeability. So anybody who has increased gut permeability is going to light up on like a Christmas tree.
They're allergic to
Sensitivity.
everything, right?
Yes,
Guilt by
exactly.
association sort of thing?
Yeah, so I don't really start there. I start with the top three, and that being sugar, gluten, and dairy. Sometimes it'll be soy. So it's looking at their individual history and determining which ones to pull out, and then seeing how you respond to that. After healing the gut, doing the full gut restoration, if it looks like that people are still reacting, then that's when I'll do food sensitivity, because then it's usually just a couple of things that people are allergic to or sensitive to. And so, and there's ways to handle that down the line by certain treatments. But ultimately, when it comes to from an inflammatory standpoint, it's best to try to just pull the major categories out and heal, or fix your digestion. Because the other reason why people have food sensitivities is because they're not breaking down their proteins to the smallest level and assimilating those. So fixing digestion also reduces food sensitivities.
So let me see if I've got this right. So if you're unable, because your gut's in such terrible shape, if you're unable to break food down before it leaks through the gut lining into the bloodstream, then the immune system sees it as a foreign entity, attacks it, and creates a acquired food allergy.
Absolutely. You described it perfectly. Yeah.
So can we get beyond these acquired food allergies, or are some of them we're just kind of stuck with?
Well, it depends. It depends on how long it's been there and what the cause is. So just by improving digestion and healing the gut lining, a lot of those things can go away. Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And possibly a person didn't really have food allergies to start out with, but the inflammation and the guilt by association in the bloodstream has created mega allergies. Is that
Right.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's just one root cause. I mean, so certain foods cause metabolic issues as well. So, for example, eating a high carb diet can cause crashes of your insulin, high levels of insulin causing crashes of your blood sugars, and so that can cause mood symptoms. So just by removing carbs slowly, eating low glycemic index foods, and again adding that balance of fats and protein really can make a difference. So there's so many different ways food can cause inflammation and ultimately depression. It's not just food sensitivities.
That's good to know, and I'd like to go into that a little bit deeper on the other side of a station break. But it is that magic moment. So you folks, please stay with us as Dr. Stein and I continue to explore alternative approaches to depression. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. Welcome back. This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. This hour, our expert guest is Dr. Achina Stein. Her website, fxnmind.com. Dr. Stein, what about other disorders like ADD, ADHD, anxiety? Do those fit into this category?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's slightly different because people have different challenges, but the process is really the same. I mean, most people who come in for certain conditions find that other conditions get well as well. So I once had a patient who who had a problem with panic attacks, and he had lifelong history of anxiety, and didn't mention that he had depression until partly, halfway into his treatment with us, and had noticed that he started experiencing joy. And he was really aghast because he didn't even talk about his depression because he had had it for so long that he just assumed that that was just the way it is, that he didn't even bring it up as a problem. And so when he found that he was experiencing joy, he described it to me and he said, "Is that what joy is? I never even imagined what it would feel like." So the depression went away, and that wasn't even why he came to us. So it was pretty fascinating to see that happen. Yeah.
I know that I came down with COVID. We all have at some point or another. And suddenly, for the first time in my life, experienced extreme anxiety that would keep me up all night. I'd never had anxiety before. So I assume that virus causing all the inflammation then can create those kind of symptoms.
Absolutely, absolutely. People have had mood changes, OCD symptoms, certainly attention problems, fatigue, brain fog. It causes a whole host of symptoms, and it's different for everyone. In fact, there have been some cases where people have had OCD and it gotten better. So some people actually had improvement of symptoms with having viruses like COVID. So it's interesting. It's been really interesting to see how it affects people differently.
Well,
Yeah.
it sounds like this walkout, if you will, from a place of being very physically ill or very depressed or all the above, is a very complex unraveling.
It is.
Is it something a person can kind of do on their own, or do they really need guidance with this?
Well, it depends on the person and just how sick they are. I think for a mild, moderate depression, and if you're safe, you're not having suicidal ideations, and if you happen to be organized and disciplined and curious and wanting to connect the dots, and you like to be educated and reading, there's a lot you can do on your own. It really is. It's a lot. Much of it has to do with habits. I have a health coach and a nutritionist that work in my practice. And a lot of it is just putting habits in place. So if you're able to just start from one thing, reading my book, the reason I wrote the book was to let people know that it is something that they can do alternatively than take medications. There's so many people that have taken medication and either it doesn't work well, or they start having side effects, or it worked before and then it stopped working. This is the alternative. And I wrote my book primarily for those people who want that alternative, and so that they can start doing it on their own. And then when you get to a place where, okay, I tried this and this didn't work, or I'm stuck here, that's when you might want to get a health coach or find someone like me in order to help you through the rest of the barriers and hurdles.
So here's the $64 question. How can our audience get a hold of you for your help that way?
Well, they can go to my website, as you mentioned. It's www.fxnmind.com, or they can go to Amazon and get my book, What If It's Not Depression? Your Guide to Finding Answers and Solutions. And it starts with diet. Now, I have to say that the diet in the book I chose, it was a very strict diet. So it doesn't have to be that strict, because I don't want people to be put off by that, because I wanted to sort of get, what's going to help as many people as possible. But I think just starting, slowly, and, with what I mentioned earlier, the changes, that's a good place to start. But sleep, movement, rest, is resting. And when I say rest, it's really different from sleep. It's taking time out of your day to just relax, meditating, breathing, doing self-care is so important. You want to plug in, just like you plug in your phone into the wall, you want to plug yourself into a recharge mode, so to speak, and which is different from sleep. And so it's really important to do stress reduction, and because there's so many things that activate people, that are constantly go, 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 that alone can cause inflammation. And so it's really looking at all of those variables that can impact you.
So, you mentioned earlier the gentleman that had been depressed so long, he didn't even think to mention that he was depressed. Is it common for a person to have been depressed most of their life and not really even recognize it? And if so, what are the symptoms?
Oh, wow. That's a tough question. I mean, some people have said lack of motivation, apathy, lack of pleasure, just, sort of just, being robotic in their day to day. They do things because they're supposed to. They have to, if they're taking care of themselves. I mean, you have to get a job, you have to go to school in order to get a job, like that kind of thing. They do things because society has told them the things that they have to do it. There's no pleasure in it. And then there's no plan for the future. So people do things out of obligation and need, as opposed to because they want to, and because they desire and have joy from it.
And have
So
passion for it, so to say.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah. So,
exactly.
is there a considerable family predisposition, nature and nurture, to this depressive state?
Oh, it's both. It's nature and nurture. It's never
Mhm.
or. It's always both. And it's going to be hard to pull that apart and keep, that's how complex we are as humans, so it's going to be a complex, complicated situation, and every situation is different from person to person. So the only way to know what it is for you is to sit down with someone and really put your whole history on a timeline, and how all the different variables intersect and interact and come together, creating a manifestation of these symptoms. And so for it's rarely one thing. There's a bug here. It's rarely one thing that causes. Not that it can't happen. There's going to be blips occasionally, but it generally, for chronic symptoms, it's usually many factors that come together.
Well, it's that time in the program, Dr. Stein, when I get to ask you, what is your mission?
Oh my gosh. My mission is to educate people, and I'm doing it right now, as many people as possible, to let them know that there is another way. Our medical system is, needing an overhaul. I'll say it that way. Definitely needs an overhaul, and that there is more to the problem at hand, and that there's other ways than just medication, psychotherapy. And so if you're stuck, on that gerbil wheel of medication, psychotherapy, and you feel like it's not working, know that there's other types of psychotherapy as well, and other forms of treatment other than medication. And it's not just functional medicine. There's all sorts of, there's energy work, there's Reiki there. And so it's finding all the tools. There's so many tools out there, and it's just really researching all the tools that are out there, and finding the ones that work for you. And you just have to keep trying, keep working. And so my mission is to tell people that that is the case, and you're
So,
worth it.
I like that part. And
Yeah.
we're about out of time, but it seems to me that one of the major problems is once a person is in such a state of depression, it's hard to rally and see options. It's hard to rally and get motivated to find hope, to make a change.
Yeah.
What do you have to say to those people?
Well, that there is hope and that you need to pick up the phone and call someone for help. I know that's hard for some people. So that you're not alone, that there are people out there that care for you. And it's a matter of picking up that phone. And if you feel like you're one of those people that you have no one to talk to, no one, no family, no friends, there is a system in place that you can pick up the phone and call them, and it might even just be 911, and they'll hook you up to a mental health crisis place or outpatient therapy place. That's the place to start. And I think you just have to ask for help. You have to just pick up the phone and ask for help, and then find your way to these alternative ways, but really just put one foot in front of the other first.
And sometimes it might be getting medicated up front and then
Mhm.
unraveling what got you in the situation in the first place. Yes?
Absolutely, when you
Yeah.
have the strength to do that. Yes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the point, is getting strong enough, caring just enough, rally yourself to take that first step. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Just amazing. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. It's been wonderful information. I'm sure the audience will benefit greatly from it. And thank you for the wonderful work you do in the world.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about it.
A real pleasure. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Dr. Stein and I will have to call it in for the show today. Our guest this hour has been Achina Stein. Dr. Stein is a psychiatrist, osteopathic physician, and the author of What If It's Not Depression? Your Guide to Finding Answers and Solutions. Her website, fxnmind.com. This has been Mission Evolution with Gwilda Wiyaka. For more information or to visit past archived episodes, visit www.missionevolution.org. Please be sure to join us right here next time as this mission continues, bringing information, resources, and support to our evolving world.